Hello and welcome to the Pinter Beer Chef. Today we will be taste testing Pinter's Bigmouth Remixed. So let's dive in and see what we think. Okay, so here we go. Has a recommended brewing of 7 days from Pinter and a recommended conditioning time of 5 days. I decided to up the brewing time plus 2 days, which I usually do. So this has had 9 days fermentation, which I definitely think has improved it. It needed conditioning. I think that when you add the hopper to the pint of brews, this one in particular, the glycerol in the which is the carrier and the preservative in the hopper itself, not like preserving the hop oils, that itself, although it's said to be odorless and tasteless, it actually can have a very sweetness all of its own. So I find that when you add the hoppers to the pint of brews, initially you do get really quite an overwhelming sweetness, which is not particularly endearing for the beer. You know, it's not a good thing. We'd be better off without it. Now, I find that conditioning this for 9 days on this particular one was essential because I started taste testing from 7 days, the 4th of September, and the sweetness from the hopper was just overwhelming and it was quite off putting, really. It was definitely to the detriment of the taste of the beer. So on this one, I've gone for fermentation of 9 days, conditioning minimum of 9 days. You know, you can taste test from 7 plus if you wish, but you'll definitely find that you're going to need that longer conditioning time just to get rid of that sweetness from the hopper itself. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on that because once you've got that sweetness locked in your head and your taste buds are picking it up, it's quite off-putting. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on that with the hopped variants of Pinter. And I'm going to do a few little experiments with the dry hopping and putting like the fresh hop pellets in small, hop socks, if you like, or little hop bags, throwing them in the Pinter with the fermentation. I'm going to do a few little experiments to see if we can get a better result than being reliant on the hop oils. If we can get some success with putting in the hop pellets in small hop socks in the fermentation, then of course we could consider the option of adding hops and modifying all different kinds of Pinter brews as well. So we're not dependent on the ones with the hopper. So that's the fermentation and conditioning. Going on to the actual beer itself, my rating at the looks. I mean, it looks spot on, to be honest. It's a good colour. It's got a good head on it. Good carbonation. I mean, to be honest, the carbonation. If you do these things to the letter, the carbonation is always there. The look on most of these Pinter fresh presses, the look spot on, to be honest. So you know, for the look of that, I'll give it 4.5 stars out of 5 because it virtually looks spot on to me. So straight on to the smell. it's I'm not picking up much aroma of the sweetness now, which is a definite benefit. You know, we're back to the beer. I am picking up some hoppiness. You know, the problem is the longer we have to condition it to get rid of the sweetness, the more deterioration is taking effect with the hoppiness, really. So we're kind of losing the sweetness and the hoppiness at the same time. That's not to say that I can't tell this has been hopped. I can tell it's had a hopper applied to it. I like the smell of it. You know, it does still smell hoppy, and obviously it still smells fresh. It's got an appealing odor to it, aroma to it, should I say? And you know, I like it. I like it. I mean, there's nothing to complain about, to be honest. It's quite pleasant. It definitely like encourages me to sort of like want to taste it. So you know, I'd give it out of 5. I'd give it 4 stars out of 5 for that. I think it smells good. The aroma's decent. So the taste itself, it's very refreshing. It's enjoyable to drink, which obviously goes without saying. That's very important. You know, this is one that I would be happy to keep going back and pouring another glass. It's definitely one of those that you'd be happy to drink, you can enjoy it. The only thing I would say is that that sweetness is still lingering just slightly. Now, that sweetness is not to be confused with incomplete fermentation. this sweetness, what's resident in this is absolutely from the glycerol, which is the carrier and the preservative in the hop pod. You can smell it in there. It sometimes can have a slight, almost like a synthetic touch to it, but that sort of that sweetness is not. I don't particularly like sweet beers, to be honest. I prefer sort of like a drier, sort of more malty taste. So the sweetness for me, it would probably be more of an issue than for some. If you like a beer with a little bit of a sweet taste anyway, or if you're a cider drinker, you might actually find that sweetness is quite appealing, and you might see it as a benefit and enjoy it. But for me personally, that sweetness undermines the flavour somewhat, and it seems that perhaps it's not going to entirely disappear. Now, I don't know if you condition long enough, the sweetness might eventually sort of like drop off. But by which point, if the hoppiness is sort of like dropped away with it, then there was no point in adding the hop on at all. But anyway, the flavour itself, the taste, I'll just try it again before I I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 because it is still enjoyable, very drinkable. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a good one. It's definitely a good one. It's one I would drink. I'll enjoy drinking this. I'll look forward to going back, having another glass, and that's always it's always an encouraging and a positive outcome. So I'll put the total scores up on the screen, and that is it for today. I'm going to keep this video nice and short, try and keep them, trying to sort of like keep them down, keep them short and sweet. So that's it for today. I will catch you on the next one.